bullish trend on bonds seen this week is less intense as investors' appetite is curtailed by the OMO auction floated this week, where traders at UBA expect prevailing market sentiments at the T-bill side to prevail as liquidity tightens. Chuka Nwachukwu, head of ALM and balance sheet management at UBA, joins me now for more market movements. Chuka, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Esther. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bring us up to speed on market trading action. Where are we seeing the most action? Let's start with the bond market.
Okay, the bond market, like you rightly mentioned, we've seen a bullish sentiment on the 2033. This was the bond that was on auction at the last bond auction last week. So we've seen a lot of interest in that bond, largely because a lot of traders were short going into that auction. And then, of course, many who lost at the auction needed to buy back in the secondary market. And that's why we've seen interest in that particular bond. I don't know if I should go ahead with
Right, please go ahead. And let's start, continue also with market, state of market liquidity.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so liquidity has been a key driver. From last week, we saw FAC came in. It's still in the system. System liquidity opened yesterday around 1.2 trillion. That's why we saw OMO for the past 2 days. There was an OMO auction, 500 billion was on offer on Monday, and then well over 886 billion was sold. Yesterday as well, another OMO auction, 500 billion was offered, and then over 700 billion was sold. So making a total of about 1.6 trillion, sold within the past 2 days, and that actually has reduced the system liquidity. Today, the system liquidity is currently around 700 billion. We've seen also the effect of the liquidity in the system as well on the T-bills market. We've seen a slight bullish sentiment on the shorter end of the curve, as well as the 182 days. We've seen a bullish sentiment as a result of system liquidity in the system, and this will continue to the end of the week.
Right. Now the CBN is planning for the fourth quarter of this year, its OMO auctions, 2.2 trillion in treasuries auction this for the fourth quarter. Talk to us about this number compared to the previous quarters and how the market is preparing for this.
I think what we have seen largely on the DMO side is that from the feelers is obvious that they have actually almost met the threshold. And so we've seen a yield drop, especially on the NTB. For example, the 1 year is currently trading around 18 levels. And so the calendar came out for the for the last quarter of the year. And then we saw that, part of the borrowing plan is about 2.2 trillion will be in part of the borrowing plan. And so markets hasn't reacted differently. What we're saying is that yield on the NTB, for example, like I said earlier, is, has greatly declined. It's around 18 levels. And so attraction is on the OMO bills, which is trading around 21 levels, 22 levels. And so there hasn't been any much reaction as regard the calendar that came out yesterday.
Right. How much action are we seeing at the corporate bond market, and where yields are with the FGN bonds? Talk to us about what corporates are borrowing at, and are commercial papers still the #1 go-to for corporates?
I think the attraction, again, is on the FGN bonds. The corporate bonds are not really the investor's delight for now, due to the fact that the FGN bond, which is much liquid and is also trading at a very high yield. And so you have a bond of 2 years, 3 years, for example, trading around 20%, 21%, compared to probably a corporate bond that will probably be trading around the 19 levels. And so if a corporate entity wants to really compete with the FGN bond, then of course it has to make it more attractive, probably around 22, 23 levels, and that I don't see for now.
Right, let's move over to the the FX market. Still seeing the Naira trading this time, from what I saw yesterday, closer to 1,600, 1,600 to the greenback. Talk to us about where the Naira traded today and the kind of volumes that you saw.
So the Naira is currently trading around 15.94 levels. The volumes are it's not it's not the much traded. Of course, the demand is still high, which is expected at this time of the year. Schools will soon be vacation is almost over, and then school will soon resume. And so we've seen the huge demand on that end as regards the school fees and then the people going back to school. So we still see high demand on the FX side. The pressure is still there, right. But again, CBN is obviously trying to see how they can curtail the pressure.
Right, Chuka, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed. Appreciate your time on the show today. Chuka Nwachukwu, Head of ALM and Balance Sheet Management at UBA.